Hey friends, welcome back to AI for Founders. I am Ryan Estes. Today I might be AI. Today we're talking to one of the most plugged in startup mentors out there, Ryan Shuken. Ryan's helped founders raise over 100 million, worked with VCs managing 10 billion in assets, and spent over a decade in China building startup ecosystems. He's been at the front line of tech acceleration, and now he's knee-deep in vibe coding revolution, helping non-technical founders ship AI-powered products fast. In this episode, we dive into the shift from million-dollar dev budgets to AI-native builds, the future of venture capital, how to protect your code from hallucinations, and what it means to build with a beginner's mind. Also, he brought his puppy. Let's go. But first, some business. This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster, the podcasting booking service that gets people like you on top podcasts. Whether you're a founder, a thought leader, or just ready to build your personal brand, Kitcaster connects you with podcast hosts who are looking for your story. We handle all the outreach, scheduling, prep, everything. All you do is show up and share your message. If you've ever thought, I should be on more podcasts, go to kitcaster.com and apply today. Start showing up where your customers are already listening. That's Kitcaster by Moburst.
Shining stars, computer light. Take the flight in the glow of neon bright.
Hey, it's great to be here. It's great to be on the show. Thanks.
You bet, man. I want to talk about vibe coding. I'm hoping we talk about startups in China. But before we do, I want to lead in with kind of some news and just get your take. There's a million ways to go with this. So OpenAI was just given a $200 million by the department, or $200 million endowment by the Department of Defense to do both. It sounds like a lot of administrative type AI programming, but also defense. So what jumps out at you from that story?
Well, we have a large endowment. I've heard you talk about this before, about the $500 billion that the government is basically promising to fund AI research, technology, and projects, and that's a chunk of it, which is fine. I know that other countries are doing this and funding with larger endowments even, and it's important you just stay relative, to stay up to date, and to kind of refine those systems. But I just think that we go really fast, and there's this organization out of San Francisco. It's the machine learning, the Human Machine Learning Foundation, and it's been a leader in just the rules and how AI should function to protect humanity. The basic rules that would keep it from, like some people say, taking over and things like that. I don't think we're going to get there right now, but I just think that it's just one of many investment that the government's going to be making into AI for their own internal systems and to stay competitive.
Yeah. How do you think Sam Altman got his way into it? Now, GPT is a beautiful product. I use it every day. It's amazing. But I'm a little bit worried about Sam's intentions for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, starting out as a nonprofit and then trying to do the old switcheroo. Starting up a new product for hardware. I had Andrew on the show, and he was describing GPT's big problem is data. They don't have the data, and so they're looking for hardware so they can start incorporating data, whether that's a wearable or a puck or something like that. So a part of my skepticism is okay, you let Sam Altman and OpenAI into these government databases. Well, I mean, they're starving to death for data. Is there a potential breach or a conflict of interest? And secondly, why isn't Google a better partner? What do you think? It's a loyalty to Trump, essentially, kind of a political thing. How Sam Altman is getting a significant chunk of this. Well, I mean, 500 billion to 200 million, it's not significant, but it's something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a few questions in there, just about what the intentions and should we be careful. But I think it's something that we learn as we go. No matter what kind of company is doing it, no matter who they are, it's important that we just kind of have our best policies and learn as we move forward have oversight, have an understanding of what we're doing and its impact and how to track and trace that data, make people accountable, and have a transparency for that accountability. I mean, that goes just with any kind of project you're doing, especially when you have sensitive data like government data or HIPAA. And those are the questions that I'm most curious about and I'd like to see answered, is just the transparency and accountability when those things are touched. And I'm sure they have people thinking about that. Now, I don't know about the political implications of whether it was this or that. And, I think that, I just don't know.
Yeah.
It's not my court to play in. But I know that there is a need for it, no matter who it's from. And that Google in particular is very picky about what they do and how they do it. Probably more picky than a data hungry company, because they have all the data. They've had all of our data, all of our searches, every thought that you've had has probably been sent to Google at some point if you've ever typed it out and searched for it. So, they're not hurting for data. They're not hurting for a lot of things, and they take a more measured approach. But Google has been moving faster than I could ever imagine with productization of AI than anything else. I mean, they are snails. The past Google is a snail comparison to who they are right now. And it's been really impressive.
Totally. I agree. What an incredible company, Google, and OpenAI.
Yeah.
No disrespect, but I don't know, Sam early on, I don't know, I just keep my eye on that guy. So Ryan, I became aware of your work through Denver's vibe coding meetup that Danny Newman puts together, which is super fun. And it's been really encouraging because, for me, I'm a non-technical founder and I always had a little bit of just nerves around that or embarrassment, I suppose. And so vibe coding is giving guys like me the opportunity to build tools very quickly. I had kind of a bucket list of tools that I wanted to work on, and I just spit them out one by one by one by one. It's really fun. And so particularly how I became aware of you is you did this fantastic presentation on kind of vibe coding 101. Here are the steps you should consider step by step when you're beginning kind of doing vibe coding. And also, I love the name. Vibe coding, they couldn't have given it a better moniker.
Yeah. It is great. I love it.
So maybe we'll just lead right here with maybe to summarize kind of that presentation. And you've been generous that we're going to put the whole presentation in the show notes of this show so people can check that out. Yep. But to summarize, if someone's getting started with vibe coding, or actually let's go a little bit more advanced. People are vibe coding out there, but they're having a hard time finishing products. What is something they can do in the beginning to help ensure when they're at the finish line that they're going to be able to actually ship something cool?
Yeah, this is a really good question. So I think a lot of people, they run into vibe coding issues. If you look online, you'll see posts about people saying, I have a 15, 30,000 line of code and it's all gone instantly because I didn't do proper backups, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. So you can get really far in vibe coding, and then all of a sudden hallucinations can take over and parts of your code are just gone because there's a lot of fundamentals that aren't solid in learning how it works. I mean, imagine having multiple people editing a Word document and having no way to save it. And just I wrote that really good paragraph or this really good chapter, and then someone overwrites it with something else and there's no save button. That's kind of what coding can be right now if you're not using the right setup. And this is what developers are really good at because they have, systems on top of systems. But vibe coding, a lot of people jumping into it, they don't understand what those systems are or why they're there. So here, a quick breakdown is you first want to understand the terminology. The terminology is really important, and there's 2 or 3 just big things that if you understand as an early adopter of vibe coding, that will help you get all the way to shipping your product without fail. And I'd say the first thing is your PRD, project requirements. Your project requirement document is your PRD. And this is something that people have in coding whenever you're starting a new feature or a new app or some kind of new thing, you're building something. These define the goals, the requirements, and the user stories in which, someone's going to use your app. Like a user can, search for the news, get it summarized, listen to that news, or however it is. These are user stories that are told using normal human language about how users use it. That, in addition to how it should be designed and what its functions are all in the project requirement document. And that is like the guideline, the rules of what happens for your app or your technology or whatever you're building. Ooh, got some weather going on. In the background for me.
I can't hear it. I can't hear it.
But yeah, you can't hear it. The mic's good. I was just like, what was that? All right. You can cut that or keep it in. Back to it is that PRD, you can build with AI. So first thing you do is, let's say you're going to spend, I'm going to spend the week building an app. I'm going to spend the weekend building something. That weekend's whatever, you're going to commit 36 hours to it. 12 of those hours, or 10 to 12, should be planning, period. Not doing anything but planning, getting examples. The more that you can feed a AI like Grok or Gemini, which is Google's 2.5 Flash Pro, these models are really good at collaborating with you to create this project planning document. This project planning document is the North Star of your project. And through every single type of feature development that you do, you have the AI, whichever one you're using, reference it. So it doesn't get all whirly out and hallucinate and go somewhere else. And that document becomes a markdown file that gets saved in the structure of your code. And one of the instructions, because you can actually set local instructions and global instructions for your coding, is to always reference and remember the project requirement document. And so when you say, I want to fix something, it doesn't redo something else. It doesn't rebuild the new idea. It doesn't add scope or things. When you're building stuff, AI loves to add scope, which is new features, new technology, or just kind of searches the internet and just adds stuff. So that will save you from losing a lot of night sleep just from having that project requirement.
No, that recommendation was amazing and completely transformed my projects. When I read that, I was like, oh, of course. Now the instinct is to just sit down and start prompting because it's fun and there's the impulsivity of it. But it reminds me of that Abraham Lincoln quote where he said, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the blade. It's like, you have the inspiration, take it to Grok, take it to Gemini, take it to Claude, and start to work out this PRD.
Yeah.
So the first prompt is like, hey, I have an idea. I want to work with you on a PRD. Here's the outline of the idea. Help walk me through what it's missing and give me ideas. Boom. So now you're not actually building before, you're not putting the cart before the horse.
Yep, absolutely. And sometimes if you just want to see what happens and mess around, it's called one-shot coding. So there are some apps out there that are one-shot apps, like same.dev, and Lovable can do it as well, and a few other ones. And you just kind of say, I want to build a store that sells, socks online, and it will just boom, one shot, put it out. And one-shot coding is a little bit different. It's like the extreme version of vibe coding is one-shot vibe coding. Totally. You're just basically throwing darts. You're trying to hit the bullseye, see who can hit it the most.
Yeah.
And that's fun. But when you really want to take an idea to production, and have it with test and actually get it out there and make money from it, you want to have this PRD, this project requirement document. You take that, and this presentation that's linked here has all of the prompts that you should do in order to create that, and all the suggestions, and gives examples and everything. The next thing that's really important is saving your code. Now, a lot of people just assume that it's kind of saved on my computer, right? Like it's saved on the cloud or wherever I'm working at, it's just saved. But that isn't actually what's happening. It's rewriting that file every time you prompt it again and again and again. And you can lose what you've worked on. You can lose some functionality that you didn't even know you lost.
Yeah.
And so the core thing that you need to learn is this thing called Git which is version tracking. Git or GitHub is free resource. You can log in, you can sign up for it, and you can prompt your AI. You can ask your AI, any kind of vibe code can do this, teach me Git, show me what I need to know about it. And in simple form, it's just saving different versions of your code. And you should think of it as like, this is actually hard saving. When AI is just doing it and randomly saving, it's not really doing that. It's just putting more building blocks on top of the same file. What you want is you want to create a copy and save that and hold that somewhere. And when that copy is good and you're happy with it, you merge it with the old and you keep on building. It's like trees that kind of branch out. And that's the way you want to do your version control. It's so important. Basically, version control and saving on encoding is like voting. You want to do it early and often. And it's it's so important. It will save your project. It will absolutely save your project. And understanding what that is, because you think it saves, it does not. You have to learn how to do Git. And you can prompt your AI to save it for you, to manage all of that for you, but it doesn't come out of the box that way. And so you want to be able to prompt it. You want to give it instructions on how to do that.
That's fantastic. Yeah, because, to your point, it's rewriting at every prompt. And if it changes something that you're not working on, you don't know which version to roll back to. Then you're just like, oh my gosh, how deep was this? And then your enthusiasm and momentum is destroyed for the day.
These are the two biggest things. If you can everything's destroyed. You're like, and you might have spent, I don't know, $400, $500 on coding this something. Yeah. And something changed in a part of your code that you don't even know. And then by the time you are like, great, I'm done, your code's all different. Your functionality is all different. This is really what happens. And I think, places, IDEs, which are the coding software, we call them IDEs, they are getting better at managing this for you, like Windsurf or Cursor. But at its core, like, you are really responsible for your own save states. You're really responsible for going through and managing that and understanding how to save it. It's easy. Just every single time you do something, save.
Yeah.
Update, save. You want to do a new feature, you create a new save point. It's kind of like playing a video game where there's multiple choices and you want to experience all the choices. You're like, I want to go down this path, so I'm going to save before, and then after I can check out this path and that path. And they're just like save spots in video games, but for your code. And that's the really important thing. Like project planning, your PRD, understanding how to save. Like, that will save you so much money and time.
Amazing. The saving is what I'm doing next. That's my next, that's my next goal, especially autosave. That's fantastic with the Git. Very cool. Yep. Now, when I was doing research on you, you've had an incredible career. We have a kinship because I work with founders. I love founders, and you have kind of a similar appreciation, I think, that I do as I'm reading quotes about you and just the trajectory of your career. This one stood out for me. It said, "I have one simple mission: to help founders build their company," which is great. And you work largely in technology as well. So when we're talking about vibe coding and we're talking about basically seeing the cost of software production run to zero, I mean, that'll be the trend eventually. What does that look like economically? Obviously, tech has been such a big sector, kind of the tip of the needle or tip of the spear for American economy. What does that mean to the SaaS model? What does that mean to software designers and engineers? Where do you see this thing going?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I love this question. This one gets me riled up because it means so much for all of that. I mean, we are living in a time where so much is getting revolutionized about what we used to do and how we used to help founders, and now what we can do. Now what you can do to build your company, to make your idea real. The entire way in which we help founders is now fundamentally changing. And we have to stay up on top of it. And so I'd say when I was, my past, my history, I did a lot of startups, venture backed, and I found my way to China. And I spent a long time in China, over a decade, working with startups and helping build the startup ecosystem and investing in companies in Shanghai. And I did that with a big VC that was one of the big early stage ones. And we ran accelerators, and I was one of the accelerator directors. And so I have hands-on experience with helping startups build tech cross-border into China, out of China, all over the world, all that kind of stuff, running startup ecosystems and trying to build these classes, these accelerators, these modules, this track for startups to be successful. And everything has changed. And when I say everything, I would average that when I would give, let's say we did $1 million in investment, just to keep the numbers simple, in a startup to grow, I would expect that they would spend around $800,000 in development. That's front end, back end, middleware, security, just figuring out project planning, paying the developers, all of that stuff. That's 80% of what we would give, we'd expect to go to just development. Today, right now with AI, we don't have to, that's not where it goes. 80% doesn't go to development anymore. It doesn't. It's a fraction of that. Now 10,000 or 100,000 at max is going to development, and all of the rest of that money is going to actual building your team, doing marketing, which is then also probably run by AI, and then your sales and everything else, and leveraging it. I mean, it allows us to help companies and help them scale in ways that we just didn't know we could do before. So as someone who helps startups and kind of guides founders on what the best practices are, it's all changed. The price tag of what the entry, the ticket price to enter is so much lower now than ever to get something out there. And I genuinely believe that we're going to see $1 billion valuation company, a unicorn, come out that is entirely vibe coded by people who don't know how to code very soon. And that means the whole game has changed. I mean, the SaaS model's changed because we're not going to have to build the middleware for the SaaS model. We're going to have the database layer. That database layer is going to immediately access an MCP server, which is the Model Context Protocol, which is then going to interact with an AI, which is going to give it access to interact with the customer.
Yeah.
We don't need even a front end anymore. I mean, you can have the AI just give a phone call and update somebody about how, their account is and what their status is and everything. Like, it allows us to rethink almost everything, and how we help and work with startups and what kind of advice we give. And learning what that is right now is kind of my mission. That's why I built that vibe coding tutorial. That's why I'm continuing to do it, is because I think everything that we know about how to start up and how to help these founders has changed. And we have to start AI startups ourselves to figure it out. We need to jump in the pool with them. We can't sit up here anymore and say, hey, move this chess piece there and do that. We have to figure it out with them.
So does that imply then for venture capital that they're not going to be writing $1 million checks, rather they'll be writing $200,000 checks? Or are they just like encouraging, like, okay, hey, we're flipping it on its head. You got 80% to spend on marketing now and sales. How are they kind of approaching the climate?
Yeah. So that's a very interesting question, because with my background in VCs and building accelerators, VCs, large ones, they're dependent on their LPs, their limited partners. Mm-hmm. These are large families. These are $1 billion funds that expect a certain amount of investment and an amount of return within a certain period of time. Your internal rate of return is really important, all these things. What they can't do, what a new VC could do or a new VC model could do, is that they have a PPM, which is a document that says, like, this is how we are going to invest. This is our plan for success. This is how we're going to invest. This is how we're going to do it over this fund, next fund, next fund. It's kind of hard to change that plan as you're doing it and get buy-in from everyone. And not all the firms are going to be fast enough and be able to do that. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of companies. I think you're going to basically see people fitting in $1 million or whatever if they're used to writing $3 million checks or $1 million or $2 million, they're going to make enough stuff to fit in the $3 million box to get that investment. But that's not needed. Early stage VC for a long time has been broken. We followed a model that's been grown out of Silicon Valley in the 1980s, and we haven't really varied far from it. We have safe notes, which are great for startups, but we've stayed on those for a really long time. And the way in which we think about the money in our LPs is pretty old fashioned. And this is the first opportunity, I think, that people have an opportunity of building VCs in a new way, because smaller checks are going to do just as much as the big ones. Before, you're like, I can't do much without a $20 million fund, $60 million fund. Now, we can do a lot with a few $100,000 fund. We can help a lot of people. We can do a lot of different stuff. And it's going to change the way that people who are starting VCs or starting new funds within VCs think about what they're doing. More opportunity for people to just try something and follow their dreams. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, once you, to your point, once you've got the 2-person team that vibe coded their whole $1 billion company, then, it becomes like a headhunter. Like now you're just looking for talent. And of course, VCs always look for talent, but it's no longer the, Harvard grad coming out with like perfect SAT scores. You're looking for like dreamers and people with the grit to like really push something through. It's totally fascinating. It's, and this promise too of like what you were talking about of reimagining the interface with technology. I'm really interested in this. And it was kind of highlighted because I moved recently and, they're like, oh, welcome to your smart house. I'm like, no. I want a dumb house. Like, they're like, no, look, everything has its own app and it all has updates and it all text message you. I'm like, dude, no way. Give me a key. I can hit the garage door opener. I don't want a smart house. And I love that term enshittification because we've really kind of gotten into the enshittification of a lot of different technologies, especially these kind of like half-baked apps that people are putting into their IoT devices. And like everything's kind of connected, but then it breaks. So you don't have the password. Then you 2-factor authenticate the download. It is just a minefield of microaggressions constantly. So when you're thinking about novel ways, that AI can bring new frictionless or reduce the friction of some of these tensions with the banalities of technology, what kind of comes to mind? Are we talking about like glasses? Are we talking about hardware? Are we talking about neural implants? Are we talking, what does it look like to you?
When we're talking about kind of the future and what that looks like and what's most useful, give me 1 second. I think I need to check my dog real quick.
Do it.
This is my puppy.
Yeah. What kind of dog is it?
My puppy, and he needs a minute. He's a little Boston Terrier, and he's
9 weeks, and
I just need to give him a little attention when he's woken up right now.
He's like,
make sure he's okay.
You're talking, and you're not talking to me. How dare you?
I know. You okay, buddy? You can hang out? Do you need anything?
Okay. I think he's okay.
That's the only interruption, I promise.
I might need to hold him. Okay, so back to the topic. So we're talking about like what AI means for human interfaces, what it means for your life, and where technology can kind of go. But previously, before I was in VC, one of the startups that I was with, we were doing augmented reality vision. This was before it was sexy. This was before it was like in everything. And we basically created a product on Google Glass that would allow you to translate any sign anywhere in the world. And it would just kind of transform it.
Cool.
And we gave quite a few talks about like how we think getting technology closer to the human can transform and help us. And this is kind of like the same question. How is AI going to do this? How is AI going to get closer to us and help us? And the way that I think that I would like personally, a little bit of my own idea in this is AI's and technology's goal is not to directly become us or interface with us entirely. It's to almost become invisible in our day-to-day life in what we do. It's kind of like the good leader aspect or the great worker, like if the great leader, almost when they do something, it's like they almost did nothing at all. And that's kind of how I'd like to make it feel. And AI for the first time with how smart it is, legitimately smart, like a lot like VR and augmented reality until now was pretty much dumb. We had an Apple Watch kind of buzz us to remind us something. We have things giving us notifications and messaging us and causing us stress and anxiety. For the first time ever, we have something that can reach us on our level. What if I want like a daily meditation where after that I get like a rundown of what I'm doing and what I need to do for the day and kind of like researches everything? AI can do that.
Yeah.
AI can do it in a soothing voice in a smart way. Like for the first time, we can kind of have a softer touch of technology because we can actually communicate directly with what we want and how we want. Before that, technology's way to communicate was, hey, look at me, read this thing, alarm bell, look at me, alert, notification. And that was very, I think, bad in design. There's a reason why Steve Jobs hated that in terms of the design, in terms of like notifications and stuff like that, because it does stop the human experience. And I think there are more ways now in using AI for us to integrate, I don't know, assistants, planners, just things in our life that we need, that we want, that will feel so seamless, like we're just talking to someone and like nothing's a big deal.
Yeah. I'm fast.
That's kind of what I hope.
Me too. This episode is brought to you by MoBurst, the AI-first growth engine trusted by iconic startups like Calm, Robinhood, Reddit, Uber, and Google. MoBurst is a digital full-service mobile-first marketing agency that helps companies to scale and become category leaders. Whether you're finding product market fit or ready to accelerate growth, MoBurst delivers creative, data-driven solutions that help with scale and efficiency and impact. At MoBurst, we're not just guessing what works, we're predicting it. As an AI-first agency, MoBurst uses cutting-edge tools to analyze user behavior, adapt creative in real time, and uncover hidden growth opportunities. The result, marketing that's faster, smarter, and built to convert. From early-stage startups to global brands, we've helped hundreds of companies overcome complex challenges, unlock new audiences, and optimize every metric that matters. At MoBurst, we believe that creative thinking, advanced technology, and data are the core drivers of success at scale. If you're serious about scaling your business with precision and purpose, it's time to talk to MoBurst. Visit moburst.com and let's build something category-defining together. I'm totally fascinated with this, and if anybody is working in this field, reach out to me, because this is what I'm creating a frictionless interface with technology. And I think that there might be ways that you can create kind of, oh my gosh, he's adorable.
Yeah.
I think there's ways that
He's going to be in the show.
all right. There's ways that you can do it that might create new sensory experiences for humans. There are so many different ways that humans can move or modulate that could be tied into some kind of AI trigger. You know, a very rudimentary one would be my stupid smart house with you can go to the app and dim the lights, you know, and it's like, dude, I would rather walk over to the big button and dim it than pull my phone out, you know? But,
It's that extra ask that's constantly being asked of you for technology forever that finally can be bridged in a truly like just get it done methodology. You know, AI can just do it for you.
And you know, so what I'm thinking though is like what I want to do is like have like the full Jedi. Like I just want to extend my hand and move my fingers and that dims the light. But then can I shorten the gap to just make it my hands and I can move my hands a certain way that dims the light? Or could I just make it for like my eyelid and I slowly, you know, all these things.
Just your attention. Just like where your attention is. If you're like looking over at the kitchen, the AI could be like, oh, he's looking over the kitchen. Just dim the lights up a little bit over there. Maybe you need to see something. Okay, now he's looking over there. Like it can interface with what our attention and what we need in a way that we've just had to kind of like ping and alert you and ding and all this like, you know, I just don't like them. They're these alerts that create anxiety and stress. And for the first time, we can build in a different way.
Yeah.
We can actually get rid of the human interface. I mean, that's what we, you know, how impossible would it be for me to ask you to download another app?
Yeah.
You know, like it's a big ask to download another app on your phone. It's a big ask.
100%.
You know, it is like, okay, then do this. And that's how people feel. Those are big asks. And so now we can start thinking about, well, what if we just have my AI, which I'll download that. I'll have that on my phone. I'll have that in my house. And that's connected to these things called MCP servers, Model Context Protocol. These are like the servers that give us tools. So if you are a founder and you're building something and you're building technology and you want to integrate it with someone's life, you can make your technology kind of like a microservice in these MCP servers that any AI can access and start doing things with and make calls to and start thinking about. So it's like, that we're starting to build the process and the foundations of the future of what that looks like. And if you want to build, right now is the best time ever. Even right now, still, the Bolt hackathon's going on. You can get Bolt for free. You can vibe code for free. You can get all this stuff. I mean, this is the moment. It's so exciting.
It's so fun. It truly is. I want to go back just a little bit to your time in China, and especially working in software, especially being there for 10 years, especially to where we are now with China. Now, one thing China's maybe a little bit notorious for is not respecting IP. What was it like when you were there and working with software teams and just kind of the energy and feeling around copyrights and intellectual property and copying and ripping off? Like, what were the kind of guidelines there?
So that's a really good question. And I think the answer is sometimes shocks people. Because if we think about like, oh, they're not respecting IP internationally, well, they're also not, they are also running really fast and trying to copy whoever is successful as fast as possible. Yep. And it's not about not respecting IP. It's about servicing the market as fast as you possibly can. So internally within China, the competition is so intense. I mean, America has no idea what actual competition looks like compared to Chinese competition. Because I've seen it for so many of the iterations of revolutions of tech and things happening that it is incredible. And the thing that wins all the time over protecting your IP is innovation. And China had learned that over and over and over again. And they went from copycat China to innovate in China very quickly. And they're already at innovate. If you're still in the mindset that China is copycat this and that, then you're probably, I'd say 8 to 10 years back in your thinking. They've invented and kind of innovated so much on stuff that it's really something that we started bringing to America, some of the innovations that they've made in restaurants and in software and how they manage that and delivery and e-bikes and everything, you name it. A lot of the things that we have are innovations that we've copied. But another thing is that China, in terms of IP, if you go there and you want to build something like a schematic or technology, or you're doing some engineering, it's not that they're not respecting your IP, it is that they are very clearly stating and having you sign a waiver that says you recognize that your IP is not protected by our laws. They are letting you know, and it is very clear that you do business here, this is what the cost is. You want cheap labor, you want this, you want good factories, all that kind of stuff. It's very transparent. And so when people are like, I signed this thing that said I signed away my rights of IP, and then they complain about it, you're like, that's their rules, and it's their home court advantage. And it's something that's helped them grow a lot. And so, as long as it's transparent and it's, right up front, it's one of the risks of doing business there, and it's what's helped them go. But now we're learning from China. Now we're learning new ways of building technology. I mean, it's better for global competition anyways, to have more creatives and more things coming out. So, I think we're past kind of that era of fear. They have their own IP laws internally. But again, you really need to be working in China for a long time to navigate that stuff.
Yeah, they're very impressive. The robots that build the bridges over there, how fast.
Yeah.
Their cars, their electric cars are totally insane. The drone swarms.
Yeah, they're great.
I mean,
yeah.
they're doing.
I remember the drone swarm shows they would have over their cities. Yeah, it's really impressive.
Very impressive. Very impressive. It's as the drum of war is always being beat. It's usually off in the distance, especially, but you can kind of hear how they're starting to manipulate narratives and things like that to create more of an adversarial relationship with China. But, I think that to your point, what I love about technology is it democratizes, talent, so there is so much we can learn from them.
It does.
I look forward to doing it. All right. I
Yeah.
know that puppy is itching for dad. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Yeah. I'm ready.
All right.
I'm in, coach.
If you're entering college today as a freshman, what would you study considering the future that's coming for us?
I would study not actually AI. Like I wouldn't study building AI systems and building the architecture of them. Instead, I would study business and how to AI prompt. So how to build businesses and structure. I'd understand finance. I'd understand how to market and how to grow things, because your opportunity to build a business and do things right now and scale that is like no other time in history. And to even get that information and learn how to do it. So, I'd be like gearing up on how to build, what to build, how to sell, and then learn how to prompt, studying how to prompt, studying these systems and how to use them, not necessarily how to do the advanced statistical math needed to build your own system, because they're kind of already out of the box.
Is there a prompt engineering course or degree now? There is.
There are courses. They're online. I'm not sure if probably a university is going to send something out there, but there are online courses. I have a few of the certificates for prompt engineering, and there are lots of things you can look on. A lot of them are free. Some of the best ones are just people talking on YouTube for like 3 hours and showing you how to do things and what to do. But, we're at a point where you can spend a month doing nothing but studying AI and prompting and come out of it a hireable prompt engineer. There are very few things in this world you can spend a month and come out competent about anything. You just need to be able to speak and convey your ideas into words pretty well. But there are so many guides and practices. It's pretty incredible.
Another soft spot. I need to work on my prompt studying. Amazing. Is there a CEO or entrepreneur you really admire?
CEO of entrepreneur I really admire. That's a good question. I think, I'm not a fan of, I don't try to root for anyone big out there. I'm kind of for the underdogs. My favorite CEOs and founders, because I'm a startup guy and I've just been there, are people who are literally just starting out. I know you're a big 0 to 1 fan. I'm a huge 0 to 1. If you're a college student, like my favorite person to work with is the founders, like the college student or the gal who just quit her job to start this idea. And those are my favorite people. And I will say it every time, that's the people that I want to help. That's why I do it. I want to help them not run into the same problems that, we've all ran into 1,000 times and try to follow their dream. And so it's just like I know it's a lame response saying it's all of this group, but it's the 0 to 1. It's the founders just trying to make their first sale, trying to figure out how to build their first thing. Those are my favorite people to work with, favorite founders, the passion, the drive. They're showing up. They have no idea what they're getting into. There's a little bit of fear. There's a lot of excitement. That's my favorite. And just seeing and working with them and meeting them, that's, it's just the best.
I love it. I totally agree. As you get a little bit older, for me, the goal is to not become bitter and not become resentful.
Yeah.
And I think people grow bitter and resentful for good reason, but the beginner mind, that founder energy, I always want to keep a wellspring of that. It's like Zen talks about that. Beginner's mind is where you always want to be and return to.
Yeah, beginner's mind. Yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
If you could live in any other era besides now or the future, what would it be?
If I could live in any era besides now or the future, what would it be? Probably be when they were exploring and mapping out the world. Kind of like when the world was fully undiscovered, when they were sending ships to map out new trading routes when they thought it was flat. I'd definitely be on a ship trying to map out the world.
Totally. I agree, man. I'm obsessed with Mesoamerica. So like the Aztecs and the Mayans and the Olmecs and like those cultures, which we're just learning now how sophisticated they really were, way more so than Europe at the time. And to be some of the first people to discover those cultures would be so cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, there's kind of a pirate energy. You know, you're on a ship with your mates. You're drinking a gallon of ale a day. You probably got some songs.
Yeah, I know. I grew up pirating software, so I have it in me.
You got a peg leg and an eye patch in the closet, I bet.
Yeah.
Nice. Ryan, this has been awesome. Where can people connect with you online? What's the best place?
You can connect with me. Probably one of the best things is I respond to LinkedIn. Just look for Ryan Shuken, RyanShuken on LinkedIn. You'll find me. Just connect, say you heard me from the show or whatever, and I'll connect with you. You can also find me at ryanshuken.com, and you can email me there if you want, but probably just do LinkedIn. And yeah, if you're a new founder, if you are thinking about doing something, if you want to learn more, if you want some of this material, just come and talk to me. I'm here to help.
Amazing. I appreciate you. It takes a lot of bravery, not only to launch multiple startups, but also to invest in startups. And really, for the founder community at large, we need good guys out there like you that are, driving value first and then has a helping hand to offer people coming up. So thanks for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Same to you. We got to share the lion's share of information here. We got to get it out somehow. And every time that we do that, it's an act of, generosity. So thanks for putting all this stuff out here and continuing with it.
100%. Thanks, buddy.
Cheers.
Hey, founders, let me ask you this. Are you building with AI or getting left behind by it? If you're serious about scaling smarter, faster, and bolder, you need to check out aiforfounders.co. It's your go-to resource for cutting through the noise and actually using AI to grow your startup. Each week, AI for Founders drops a sharp, no-fluff newsletter, dives deep with expert guests on the podcast, and hosts monthly workshops where you can get your hands dirty with the real tools and strategies. Whether you're pre-seed or Series B and beyond, launching something new, or just staying sharp, AI for Founders gives you the edge you need to win in 2025 and beyond. Hit aiforfounders.co to subscribe to the newsletter, tune into the podcast, and grab your spot in the next workshop. And it's all free. Build smarter, move faster, think bolder with AI for Founders. Now back to the show.